My name is Dr. Amara, and I am 36 years old, living and working in Nairobi. Every morning, the sun rises with a fierce determination over the city, casting long shadows from the acacia trees onto the dusty paths leading to our small community clinic. My days begin before dawn, often ending long after the last star has appeared. I am a doctor, yes, but more than that, I am a witness to the struggles and triumphs of my people. Most of my patients are children, their eyes bright but often clouded with fatigue, their small bodies weakened by illnesses that should not exist in this modern world. I treat typhoid, cholera, dysentery, the insidious diseases that steal away vitality, all stemming from one devastating source: unsafe water. I work tirelessly, pouring my heart into every diagnosis, every treatment, every late night spent worrying. I see the same faces again and again, the same families battling the same sicknesses. It is a cycle that breaks my heart a little more each day. I dream of a different Nairobi, a place where children laugh without the threat of disease, where mothers do not cradle feverish babies, where fathers do not miss work because their whole family is too ill to function. But that dream often feels so far away, a shimmering mirage in the heat. My own pockets are rarely full. What little I earn goes back into the clinic for supplies or to help a family buy desperately needed medicine. The quiet struggle I face is not just financial, it is the constant battle against a feeling of helplessness. I am a doctor, I heal, but what if the source of the sickness never goes away? My internal nemesis is the whisper of doubt that tells me I am just patching holes, that I cannot truly change the tide. I remember a small girl, Zawadi, barely 5 years old, her laughter infectious, her spirit bright. She came to me with severe dehydration from a waterborne illness. We tried everything, but the disease had taken too strong a hold. Losing her, watching her mother's grief, was a wound that never truly healed. It solidified my resolve, but also planted a deep, nagging fear. What if I am not enough? What if my efforts are just a single drop in a vast, polluted ocean? After Zawadi, the whisper of doubt grew louder, but so did something else, a quiet, burning conviction. I could not just treat the sick, I had to prevent the sickness. My small apartment, already cluttered with medical textbooks, began to transform. My kitchen table became a makeshift laboratory. After long shifts at the clinic, I would spend hours, sometimes until the sun began to peek through my window again, researching, sketching, experimenting. I delved into the science of water purification, looking for solutions that were not just effective, but incredibly cheap and simple to produce with local materials. I pored over scientific papers, watched online tutorials, and even scavenged for materials from discarded items in the market. My initial attempts were comical, sometimes even dangerous. I tried charcoal filters that clogged instantly, sand filters that didn't remove enough bacteria, and chemical solutions that were either too expensive or too complex for everyday use. Each failure was a punch to my gut, reinforcing that internal nemesis, telling me I was foolish to think a single doctor could solve such a massive problem. Friends, when I saw them, would ask why I always looked so tired. I would just smile and say clinic work was demanding. How could I explain that I was trying to build a new future for Nairobi on my kitchen table? I applied for small grants, detailing my vision for a simple, affordable water filter that anyone could make. The rejection letters piled up, polite but firm, stating my project lacked commercial viability or sufficient scientific backing. The financial strain became very real. My own savings, which were meant for a future I now barely thought about, dwindled, buying me filter membranes, testing kits, and various grades of sand. There were weeks I ate only simple maize porridge, saving every shilling for my research. One especially difficult day, after another failed experiment that left my small workspace smelling of sulfur and frustration, a devastating outbreak of cholera swept through a nearby informal settlement. My clinic was overwhelmed. We worked around the clock, our limited supplies stretching thin, our faces grim. The beds were full, children lay on mats on the floor, their parents' faces etched with terror. We lost 2 more children that week. The helplessness I felt was suffocating. I had spent so many nights trying to find a solution, and here we were, still drowning in the problem. I went home that night, the weight of the world on my shoulders, and stared at my cluttered table, at the half-finished prototypes, the scribbled notes. It all felt pointless. My effort seemed like a cruel joke, a foolish endeavor when people were dying right now. I considered throwing it all away, giving up on my audacious dream and just focusing on my clinic work, accepting that some problems were just too big for one person to solve. The raw grief from the clinic, combined with the crushing disappointment of my stalled progress, brought me to my lowest point. I sat on my floor, tears streaming down my face, feeling utterly defeated. The following morning, I arrived at the clinic, my eyes still heavy from lack of sleep and tears, my spirit utterly broken. The waiting room was full, as always. An elderly man, Baba Juma, sat patiently, his face a map of deep wrinkles, his eyes kind. He was a regular patient, always suffering from joint pain, and I often prescribed him simple pain relief and a lot of rest. As I called his name, he slowly rose, his gaze lingering on my face. "Dr. Amara," he said softly, his voice a gentle rumble, "you carry too much weight today. What troubles you so deeply?" I usually kept my professional distance, but his genuine concern, his wise, ancient eyes broke through my carefully constructed composure. I found myself telling him everything: the failures, the rejections, the deaths of the children, my desperate dream of a water filter, and my crushing feeling of utter uselessness. I spoke of the challenges of finding durable, affordable materials. Baba Juma listened patiently, nodding occasionally. When I finished, he didn't offer empty platitudes. Instead, he simply reached into his worn leather pouch and pulled out a small, intricately carved wooden bird. "This is for you," he said, pressing it into my hand. My father was a carpenter, and his father before him. We learned many things about local woods, about their properties. My grandfather, he used to collect a very specific kind of river reed, weave it tightly, and use it to filter water in his village. He said the fibers were very fine, and though it looked simple, it worked wonders. He found them near the old river bend, where the soil is rich with volcanic ash. "Perhaps," he finished with a shrug, "perhaps you might find inspiration there." He then smiled, a wide, genuine smile that reached his eyes. "Do not give up, my child, your heart is pure. A seed takes time to grow, but the fruit is always worth the wait." His words and the small, unexpected gift of a memory felt like a lifeline. I looked at the little wooden bird, then at Baba Juma's kind face. He was just a patient, a stranger in a way, yet his quiet wisdom and encouragement were exactly what I needed. I found new resolve. That very evening, instead of retreating into despair, I walked to the old river bend Baba Juma had spoken of. It took me days of searching and many experiments, but I found the reeds. I painstakingly researched their cellular structure. Combining this forgotten knowledge with my understanding of modern filtration principles, I finally designed a simple, layered filter using locally sourced river reeds, fine sand, activated charcoal from burnt coconut husks, and a layer of finely crushed volcanic rock, all housed in a repurposed clay pot or plastic bucket. It was incredibly simple, incredibly cheap, and after rigorous testing in my makeshift lab, incredibly effective. I called it the Zawadi Filter, in memory of the little girl who had inspired me. But then came the next hurdle: how to distribute it. I had no money for mass production. That's when the second leap of faith came. I decided I would not sell the filters. I would give the design away. I would teach anyone and everyone how to make them. I drafted simple, illustrated instructions in local languages and started holding workshops in my clinic's courtyard on weekends, teaching families how to gather materials and build their own Zawadi filters. The change in Nairobi was slow at first. Then it began to snowball, like a gentle ripple expanding into a powerful wave. My new normal became a beautiful chaos. I was still Dr. Amara, treating patients in the clinic, but now I was also a teacher, a mentor, a community organizer. My weekends were filled with workshops, my evenings with answering questions and troubleshooting. Mothers who had once brought their sick children to me now stood proudly holding their own Zawadi filters, their faces alight with newfound knowledge and self-sufficiency. Fewer children came to the clinic with waterborne diseases. The beds that were once full of feverish, dehydrated bodies began to empty. Instead, I saw children with scraped knees from playing, not with the dull eyes of illness. Schools saw better attendance because children weren't homesick, and parents could go to work without fear of their little ones falling ill. The ripple effect was profound. Communities that once suffered silently now had a tool, a solution, in their own hands. The despair in many eyes was replaced by dignity and hope. I taught local artisans how to make and sell the clay pots, creating small businesses. I worked with community leaders to establish water committees to ensure the filters were maintained and understood. My internal nemesis, the doubt that I could truly make a difference, had vanished, replaced by a quiet confidence and an overwhelming sense of connection. I understood that the biggest problems often have the simplest solutions, and that kindness, even a simple word of encouragement from an elderly patient, can be the turning point that empowers someone to find that solution. I even started traveling to nearby villages, teaching them the same techniques, empowering more communities, all free of charge. I am just one person, but I learned that one act of kindness, one shared idea, can spark a revolution of health and hope. And the most poignant twist of fate: one day, a young, healthy girl about 10 years old came to one of my workshops, eager to learn how to make a Zawadi filter for her grandmother. Her name was Zawadi. She was not the same Zawadi I had lost, but she was a reminder that life finds a way, that hope endures, and that when we reach out to one another, truly, things always do get better.